Chapter 1, The Fall of a Dutch Legend. This tournament is claiming casualties. Giants are falling. Dreams are dying. And now another big name has been swallowed whole. Less than 24 hours after the Netherlands were dumped out of the World Cup in the most painful way possible, their head coach was gone. Music, Ronald Koeman, a Dutch football legend, a man who had managed Barcelona, Everton, Music, Ajax, walked away, resigned, done. The World Cup just took another victim. So, let us talk about how one of European football's most experienced coaches ended up as collateral damage in a tournament that is systematically tearing the Giants apart, and the one fateful decision that sealed his fate. Chapter 2, A Historic Tournament Exit. Let's start with the scale of what happened to the Netherlands, because this wasn't just a loss, it was a historic humiliation. The Dutch, Music, are one of the great footballing nations, three-time World Cup finalists, a country that had reached at least the round of 16 in 11 straight World Cups. 11, including a quarter-final just 4 years ago. Reaching the last 16 wasn't a hope for the Netherlands. Music, it was practically a birthright. And this time, they didn't even get there. Knocked out in the round of 32 by Morocco, the earliest World Cup exit in the entire history of Dutch football. Never before had the Netherlands gone home this early from a World Cup they'd qualified for. Koeman didn't just lose a game. He oversaw the worst World Cup result his country has ever had. And here's the truly maddening part, the thing that turned criticism into fury. The way it happened was a self-inflicted wound. Chapter 3, The Tactical Gamble Backfires. Because in the group stage, this Dutch team was a joy. They scored 10 goals across 3 matches, including a 5-1 demolition of Sweden. Flowing, attacking, fearless football, the kind of thing that made people fall in love with the Netherlands in the first place. They looked like genuine contenders. And then they ran into Morocco, and Koeman did something baffling. He tore up the plan that was working. He abandoned his attacking setup and switched to a defensive 5-man defense, a back 5 he hadn't used in Music ages, specifically designed to contain Morocco's dangerous forwards. Music. And it backfired spectacularly. That negative defensive shape didn't just fail to stop Morocco, it strangled the Netherlands' own attack. It handed Morocco the ball, invited them forward, and turned a team that had just scored 10 goals into a toothless, passive side that mustered almost nothing going forward. As one analyst put it bluntly, the setup allowed Morocco to play. The Dutch surrendered possession, stopped pressing, and retreated into their own half. They looked terrified against a team that reached the World Cup semi-finals in 2022. Playing scared is a death sentence. For a while, somehow it almost worked anyway, against the run of play, and only after Koeman finally ditched the 5-man defense and threw on an extra striker, Cody Gakpo poked home in the 72nd minute to make it 1-0. And there was real emotion in that goal. Gakpo had chosen to stay with the squad despite a devastating personal loss in his family just days earlier. Music. And he fell to his knees in tears, his parents crying in the stands. For a moment, it looked like the Netherlands might escape with a win their performance didn't deserve. But this is the World Cup taking its victims. And it wasn't done. Deep into stoppage time in the 91st minute, Morocco's Kemstein Talbi whipped in a cross. Music. Centre-back Issa Diop rose above Virgil van Dijk to head home his first ever international goal. 1-1. Extra time solved nothing. Dutch keeper Bart Verbruggen produced a stunning save to keep them alive. And so it went to the Chapter 4, penalty heartbreak and fallout. One place the Netherlands dread above all others, penalties. And oh, the history here is brutal. This was the Dutch national team's 10th penalty shootout ever and their 8th defeat, their 3rd World Cup exit in a row on penalties. It's practically a national curse at this point. Kluivert hit the post. Timber dragged his effort wide. Somerville had his penalty saved by Morocco's keeper Bono. And PSV's Ismail Saibari stepped up, buried the winner, ripped off his shirt, and sent Morocco through to the last 16. The Netherlands were out, and the tactical gamble that caused it all had Koeman's fingerprints all over it. The criticism was instant and brutal. Music. Koeman's defensive tactics had been questioned even before the tournament. His second spell in charge had been underwhelming. A passive style. A team that, in this entire second term, never once beat a country ranked in FIFA's music top 25. The Morocco decision was the final damning example. And to his credit to Coman, he didn't hide from it. He defended the call, saying he would make the same choice again, that the coach's job is to change things when you're giving away too much. But he also took full responsibility. Nobody is more disappointed than I am, he said. As national team coach, I had that responsibility. I felt it, and I will always feel it. And then, less than a day later, he resigned. But here's where this story becomes about far more than football. Chapter 5, Life Beyond the Pitch. And it's important we treat it with the weight it deserves, because Coman's decision to walk away was not only about tactics or results. In his farewell message, he revealed something that puts the entire tournament into perspective. His wife, Bartina, has been battling breast cancer this entire time, undergoing treatment while he was away at the World Cup. In Coman's words, the last few years have made me realize there are more important things than football. Football has been my life, but you can't put a price on health. When someone you love is fighting a tough battle, music, your perspective changes. That's a man stepping away not just because a gamble failed, but because he understands where football actually sits in the order of things. He listed the great clubs he has coached over 25 years, Ajax, Feyenoord, PSV, Barcelona, Everton. And it read like a man drawing a line under his entire managerial career, not just his time with Orange. He leaves, in his own words, with mixed feelings, but overriding pride. And whatever you think of his tactics, you wish him and his family nothing but strength. Chapter 6, The Ugly Side of Defeat. There's one more thing that has to be said because it's the ugliest footnote to this whole exit. After the loss, the Dutch players who missed their penalties, Kluivert, Timber, and Somerville, were subjected to vile racist abuse online. The Dutch Football Association condemned it in the strongest terms and vowed to pursue criminal charges. Let's be crystal clear about this. Missing a penalty at a World Cup is heartbreak, not a crime. These players carried their nation's hopes and fell short by inches, the way great players always have. The abuse they received is disgraceful. It has no place anywhere near this sport. And the people responsible deserve every consequence coming to them. Football is supposed to bring people together. That does the exact opposite. Chapter 7, A Tournament of Underdogs. So step back and look at the bigger picture because Coman is not an isolated casualty. He is part of a pattern that is defining this entire World Cup. The giants are being taken down one after another, and the underdogs are the ones doing the taking. It was Morocco, the pride of Africa, who ended Coman and the Netherlands. On the very same night, four-time champions Germany were dumped out by Paraguay. Uruguay, another traditional power, never even made it out of the group. And marching on in their place, Morocco, Paraguay, Cape Verde, the smallest nation ever to reach this stage, and Congo. The dark horses of this tournament aren't just surviving. They are claiming scalps, ending careers, and rewriting the entire hierarchy of world football in real time. That's what makes this World Cup so ruthless and so thrilling all at once. Every round, a giant falls. Every round, the tournament claims another victim. Coman is simply the latest name added to the list. A legend of the game undone by a gamble that backfired and by an underdog that refused, music, to know its place. The Netherlands are going home early for the first time in their history, and they'll be searching for a new direction. The question is whether the giants can steady themselves before this tournament swallows even more of them. Was Coman's defensive gamble the real reason the Dutch went home? Or was Morocco just the better team on the day? Where do you land? Let me know in the comments below, and stick around because at this World Cup, no giant is safe.